48 nations, 3 host countries, 1 trophy. The world has arrived in North America, and the stage is now set for the biggest spectacle in sports history. When the 90 minutes end, our coverage is just getting started. From the tactical masterclasses to the heartbreaking drama, we are leaving nothing behind. From the Empty the Bench Network, this is your ultimate 2026 FIFA World Cup pop-up show. It's time to take it all the way to the final whistle. Welcome to Empty the Pitch. And now, here's your hosts, Callan McClurg and Trevor Williams. Hello, my friends. Good morning. Happy Saturday. Welcome to the quarterfinal round of the FIFA World Cup, and welcome into one of our second-to-last programs for Empty the Pitch for our 2026 World Cup coverage. As always, folks, he's Trevor Williams from Columbus, Ohio. I'm Callan McClurg here in San Diego, California, as we get ever so closer to kicking off another day of World Cup action. We'll also get to all things Team USA, as we did not have a chance to do so live with you folks on Monday. Talk all things about the game on Monday against Belgium. Talk about some big breaking news that did break within the hour before the show came on the air. But Trevor, we're here, my man. How's it going today? Great to see you.
It's been pretty good. Now we're down to only 8 teams in the World Cup. I think these are probably some of the best 8 teams we've seen thus far in the tournament. I like how Spain has been playing. France has been on a dominant campaign, and they have a perfect semifinal matchup. But now we got today's rest of the quarterfinals with Norway versus England, and then Argentina and Switzerland.
Yes.
If the Swiss cheese could hold strong in this front, or their defense will be Swiss cheese. We'll find out more around 9 p.m. tonight Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Time.
So again, folks, as you just heard us say, this is sadly one of our last get-togethers for the World Cup. We will have more about that as we get towards the end of the show here this morning here on the West Coast and in the Midwest. But, of course, folks, you can follow the show, though, on social media, all things involving soccer, over at Empty the Pitch on Twitter and Instagram, and eventually on TikTok. Of course, follow ETB on social media, on Twitter, IG, and TikTok, all at ETB Network. And more importantly, please go like and subscribe over at youtube.com/ETB Network for all things that we're doing here with all of our live shows. All 17 shows are now live here on the network, including what Trevor has for college football coming up in just a matter of weeks after we wrap up our coverage here for the World Cup. And again, you can go find us there at youtube.com/ETB Network. Trevor, as we said, we don't really have a chance to talk all things involving Team USA's very much sour exit from the World Cup, though, on Monday. We're going to hold off, though, on that, Trevor, real quick, because we do, though, have breaking news before the show took the air within the last hour, Trevor. And it's very unfortunate news, though, from ESPN and Leonard Solomons, who writes that South American midfielder Jaden Adams has sadly passed away early this morning at the age of 25 years old after helping lead South Africa's team to the round of 32 per a confirmation by the South African Football Players Union on Saturday morning. Jaden started 2 of South Africa's 3 games in the group stage round and came off the bench when they knocked off South Korea 1-0. That placed their spot in the World Cup knockout round for the first time in franchise, but for that matter, nation history. Back on June 24th, he also did not play when South Africa was knocked out by Canada back on June 28th. Both the South African Football Players Union and Ministry of Sports, Art and Culture confirmed his death on Saturday, with no official cause of death being confirmed at this time. Furthermore, about Jaden, that he played in the 2-0 loss to Mexico in the 1-1 draw with Czechia, as he played despite the death of his grandmother the previous day against Czechia. With a quick statement here from Gayton McKenzie, the Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture for South Africa, in a statement on Saturday. McKenzie writes in part that when I reached out to Jaden to offer my condolences and encouragement, I shall carry forever the humble, appreciative response he gave me, that he chose to wear the national jersey and give all for his country. In that moment speaks to a depth of character and professionalism well beyond his years and reflects the caliber of young man of the reflects the caliber of the young man that South Africa has lost, open and close quote. Again, his last game happened to be that South Korea match where, again, South Africa stunned South Korea 1-0 to punch their ticket to the World Cup's round of 32. Obviously, Trevor, the World Cup brings out the best of people. And, sometimes, Trev, we've talked about, other things that have happened. I remember doing the episode about the murder of Andres Escobar after the 94 World Cup for benchmarks and, how that really, cast a bit of a negative light on soccer. But here, though, Trevor, this happens about a week or two after South Africa gets knocked out of the tournament. And again, at the very young age of 25, though, and how Jaden Adams was a very key cog of this, team, of course, as we know, from South Africa. I guess, Trevor, just any opening thoughts regarding the passing of Jaden Adams early this morning?
It's a tragic case of events. Like, I saw it flash on ESPN. I'm like saying, what ended up happening for his, life to leave this lovely earth that we have. But it also makes me wonder, there's many different things that could happen for the South Africa team. Maybe in the next World Cup, they use it as a morale boost to go for a deeper run. So we'll see what that camp can end up putting together to really honor him for the next World Cup coming up, or any tournament the nation has to go up against, maybe win that in his honor, and we'll kind of see where that ends up developing. But as the story continues to progress and develop, hopefully we know the cause of death, and that will kind of at least not close out the story, at least give people a little bit more closure on it.
So again, folks, tough to open up the show, though. Again, we've been celebrating global culture. We've been, enthused by the on-field play that, again, we have to report the news again per ESPN.com and per writer Leonard Solomons. Again, Jaden Adams of South Africa, dead at the age of 25 years old, just weeks after the World Cup appearance made by South Africa and by himself. With that, Trevor, in mind, we'll get back to the nitty-gritty here and look back on Monday. Again, obviously, we weren't able to be here, though, on Monday to recap Team USA's very much, again, sour loss to Belgium. Again, I kind of, like I said, though, Trevor, on Cranium on Tuesday, that the U.S. men's national team reminds me too much of a very fringe, bottom-tier, top 25 college American football or college basketball team that that they can win. But when they played the big bad wolves of, number 1, 5, 10, what have you, that they might be able to hang, but they're not going to be able to knock these guys out or win, though. And I think, though, Trevor, from the jump, before we get to all the nonsense off the field, though, Trevor, your overall reaction to this loss, though, from Monday, and I know that we weren't able to be here, but that's why we're doing the recap here, kind of in a way as a Cliff Notes version. But obviously, I think that the morale was busted when you fall behind. We're in a way, it's like a taste of your own medicine, though, where you had scored the first goal of every game until Belgium. You fall behind 1-0 because the back line, falls asleep at the wheel. You have Malik Tillman kind of save you a little bit, though, in minute 31 with that beautiful strike, though, over the wall on the free kick. Then, though, what I said, though, too, on Tuesday, what you cannot afford to do, though, is let the opposition come right back down the field and score within a minute after you tie it up, though, and that ended up being the back-breaking goal, though, that header put home. Then, of course, it unravels, though, further, Trev, though, with Matt Freese having that bit of the, that hiccup there where he comes out. He maybe is fouled, maybe not, though, but loses the ball, and it comes free, though, for there to be a wide open net for the easy goal that makes it 3-1. And I felt bad for Tim Ream, who tried to get back there and trying to close off the angle, but couldn't do so. Then, of course, the fourth goal, which was the dagger to end it all in the 93rd minute of play in stoppage time. And, of course, Trevor, you have the undercurrent, though, too, of the Pulisic injury, how the media has reacted, when it comes to Carly Lloyd, Sidney LaRue, Landon Donovan, of course, Alexi Lawless, you name it, about, all that. So, Trevor, this was just a massive recipe for disaster. We talk about the whole red card issue here. But I guess, though, T-Will, reaction, what do you got?
I think the red card is probably the main thing that probably fueled this loss, at least got the spark going. But I think really the death-defying moment was having the goalie mess up on the kick to kick it out with his hesitation. I think that's what really made this game fall apart. If we lost 2-1, I think the media would have a different perspective on how this men's national team ended up playing. But giving up 4 goals at this point, a lot of people, like you and I were saying, quarterfinal or bust, and we see this result, it makes people question, like, maybe we just got lucky. Like our matchup with Bosnia, it was like an ideal scenario to get us out of the round of 32. Now we face a good team, and now we're just flat out exposed. So now as a nation, we're happy with like how the team got up to that point. But now it was like, all right, what's the next thing does the men's national team have to do to get us out of the round of 16 and maybe even fare a bit better against some of the European powerhouses or South American powerhouses of the World Cup stage? But at the end of the day, outside of this one blip of their World Cup tournament, we got to be pleased with some of the results of what we've seen thus far from this men's national team. It can only get better from here, but at the same time, I understand the criticism behind where the media is coming from. But at the same time, we got to support these men to get through, because if we keep criticizing, we're going to lose a lot of young talent, and our men's national team is really not going to make a dent in future World Cups.
Yeah, Trev, I tried to make that point on Press Row on Wednesday, and I know that we just had a clip put out from MTGP this past week where, Nick D, to his credit again with his thoughts again, kind of in a way said, this game's never going to be on par with the NFL. That, though, Trevor, went to my point, though, from Press Row on Wednesday. To your point, too, the only way that we grow soccer in this country is that if everybody in some way watches the game when it's not a World Cup year, like this year for the men and next year for the women, that you have to go and watch the Crew or SDFC, watch the Red Bulls, watch NYCFC, watch Chicago, go watch USL clubs, go watch college soccer this fall. Go and support the game, though, because that's how eyeballs get on this product, as I said on Wednesday on Press Row. But I think, though, Trev, that before we get, again, we will get to the red card issues here, and then we'll talk all things about where the current field is at right now. But Trevor, I want to get your perspective, though, about before we talk about Christian Pulisic. I also made the mention on Tuesday on Cranium that I know that the other big thing that was a undercurrent away from the red card snafu with Flo Balogun, Mauricio Pochettino's future. And I did a Brainerd Drain segment that I said, you've got to keep this guy around. I think that the players have responded, how this team had, as you said, though, they've had a great record book rewriting year, though, again, third time winning the group. Most goals scored in a World Cup cycle. Poach passes every other manager with World Cup wins in one World Cup cycle. Their best result since 2002. A lot of things finally came off their back this cycle. And I would hate, though, to see, though, Trevor, that progress that has been made with this national team by having Poach being the guy in charge to all of a sudden not renew the contract, not offer him a contract, or a bigger club like, I don't know, some club in the EPL or back in Argentina offers him, the job. And we're right back, Trevor, to square one, though. And you kind of, in a way, lose that momentum. Where I made the comparison, though, a little bit, though, T. Will, on Tuesday. This feels like, though, when you're playing a board game like Monopoly and you keep, making your way around the board, but you never pass go. Like you always are stuck in jail, or you may get free parking, that you seem to go 2 spots on the board, though, but then you're sent back 2 spots on the board. That's how this would feel, though, from my perspective, if Poach is not retained, though, with how these guys have bought in. Again, we'll talk about Pulisic in a second, though. But, Trev, what do you believe, though, needs to happen involving the future of Mauricio Pochettino as Team USA's head coach?
I think from what we've seen from this World Cup, I know earlier in the tournament, I was saying, let's see how he does in the, knockout stage and all that stuff. Getting that victory over Bosnia definitely kind of helped secure his fate. But then I feel like outside of control, this Belgian loss wasn't on him. I think that was a team loss on that front more than a coaching loss or a coaching decision that caused Team USA to lose. That is a full-blown out team loss, and we just have to take it on the chin and move on. I think you got to keep him, find a way to get a contract extension so we can kind of keep building this team, finding the right star players to really make a deeper run, at least like a quarterfinals, maybe another semifinal appearance, because I know we haven't had one since the 1930s. So I'm
yeah,
our goal at this point is to have the next World Cup, try to make it to the quarterfinals. I think that's a still reasonable goal to achieve. If not, maybe a little snippet of a possible semifinal berth, but you would have to have the bracket in your favor. And look how we have these semifinals right now. Those teams belong in the semifinals, what we've seen up to this point. So it's you have to come and bring your A game when you're trying to make a deep run like this. But I don't think we have our generational talent yet. But I think as coach stays there, I think he'll kind of bring in more of that talent. We'll probably start building that U.S. generational talent to at least make that quarterfinal appearance.
Again, folks, Empty the Pitch here underway on this Saturday morning as we lead you in a little bit towards the next two games of the FIFA World Cup. We'll talk more about those games here in just a moment. Trevor, I do, though, now want to address the major elephant in the room, though, involving Christian Pulisic, who, again, we know was diagnosed with, I believe, a microfracture of his leg, again, re-injuring the leg that he did injure earlier on in the tournament, involving the calf injury against Paraguay in match one. But with that, though, Trevor, obviously Christian's post-game remarks, though, after the 4-1 loss, though, did not sit well, I should say, with a lot of us, including myself. I'm sure yourself, though. But Trevor, 3 Team USA legends, all in a roundabout way, Trev, body slam Pulisic after that game. Of course, the major or the most loud one came, of course, from Team USA women's soccer legend Carly Lloyd, who, again, has now doubled down on her thoughts regarding her stance on Fox over the course of it, and also wanted to clarify that it was not anything personal regarding how she feels about Pulisic, though, but about his game. And again, that comment, though, that came on Fox was, and I quote from Carly Lloyd, "You want some of the big-time players to step up in big moments, and I've got to be honest, I was a bit disappointed in Christian Pulisic. I think whether he wants to be the star of his team or not, we did not see enough from him in this particular game, and really the whole World Cup." That is part one of her quote. Then she also responded to another tweet regarding this fan's thoughts, and she wrote, "I don't owe anyone an apology. My comment was not about his postgame interview. He skipped the Gold Cup last summer because he wanted to rest and be ready for the World Cup. He ended up resting the whole year. That's the facts. Nothing personal against him." That was from Carly Lloyd. Then, though, Trevor, Sydney Leroux, who was a one-time World Cup winner for Team USA after defecting from the Canadian national team, also sat down or also made her thoughts known on Threads, saying in part, "Honestly, I don't care if they lost. I care that I watched the biggest moment of their lives disappear and never saw the desperation to save it. You spent your entire life getting to the field. Every sacrifice was for this. And when it starts slipping away, you bleeping fight. You make them rip the dream out of your hands. I will never understand having anything left to give when it's over." Open and close quote. With also, though, further as well, though, Trevor, involving that either LaRue or Lloyd even further said that you rest when your career is over and that you keep playing until you can't do so either. And even further, Landon Donovan, of course, also said that you would have had to have dragged him off the field for him not to be coming out of that game. So, Trevor, 3 American soccer legends body slamming Pulisic, though, again, a guy that I think, though, Trevor, that I can agree, a lot of us have put up on that pedestal as like the golden boy of this generation. But I also said, though, Trev, on Tuesday, it's one of those, what have you done for me lately? You scored one meaningless goal for Team USA in a tune-up game against Senegal before the tournament began. Other than that, you were a nothing burger except for a couple of assists in game one before he got hurt. Then he came back and didn't do much after that. So, Trevor, your overall thoughts about seeing how a couple of American soccer icons have, again, put Christian Pulisic right to the shredder after the game this past Monday?
I think it's what you get as a star treatment. I think that's what we're looking at. But the real question is he going to be America's golden boy after this World Cup? I feel like maybe he wants to stay away from that, from that limelight of it. Maybe he's better to be like the 3rd best player on the team, and maybe that's when he shines, and we're all going to be happy with him. But I think from where he's at in his career, I feel like this is like a turning point moment. Like you got a lot of hate from the nation right now. And now you have to figure out, how do you bounce back and how do you earn the nation's trust once again? So you got to have like a fantastic, couple years up to the next World Cup. But at the same time, that fracture will probably change on how he plays his game. I know injuries will dictate a lot of players' careers and they're not the same. Like, for example, like Neymar and his legs, like he started to just deteriorate and he just gets right by the Brazilian national team to a lot of these events. We don't want to see Christian like that. Like that's like hurting the game and disrespecting the game. Like if you don't got it anymore, like you're allowed to step away, because like if that injury is like impacting your play style, because it's your legs, like you need them for soccer. If you didn't really need them, like you could probably find another sport where you can get through, but every sport requires some point of leg power. So for me, I think I don't think he's our golden boy anymore. I think we have to move on and find somebody else. I know it's a tough comment, but like you said, Callan, what have you done for me recently to deserve that title? I think there's a lot of talent on our team that we can have a new franchise star player that kind of just
1,000%.
boosts morale and get us through to the next part of our game. But I think Christian's limelight or shine to fame is starting to burn out a little bit. But like I said, what he does in the next couple tournaments will kind of dictate on how his career plays out for Team USA.
Trevor, he'll be 31 for the next World Cup in 2030. So he'll be 31 years old when we, in fact, hopefully see Team USA back in the fold. I mean, who out there, Trevor, really is still calling Pulisic Captain America? I mean, I could think of two guys already who could take that spot. Flo Balogun and Malik Tillman. Like, I think those would be the two guys I would focus on. And I think, Trevor, it's a good segue to discuss, of course, the undercurrent too of Monday's game, of course, was the very weird circus that became pure chaos involving the red card for Flo Balogun being rescinded by FIFA. He's on a 1-year probation. All the statements that came out, the rumors of the phone call made between the president and Gianni Infantino, Belgium filing a formal protest, that there was rumblings of them forfeiting. Like, I mean, Trevor, it was just a very chaotic news day. And I ultimately think, though, as I said on Tuesday, that whole thing was a cloud over that game on Monday. But your thoughts on how that whole thing was handled?
I think that was 100% true, Callan. I feel like our president shouldn't have gotten involved with the game and impacting that, because now that is a cloud over the men's national team. Because I've been seeing the memes and posts saying our women's team didn't need our president to save us and all that. So now it really dampens Team USA's approach on the future World Cups and even the Olympics in 2028 for our national team. So, men, we got to figure something out to get us back in the golden graces and not have corruption taint our national team as it currently is. I think from what we have right now, I feel like Trump shouldn't have gotten involved. We should have took the red card. And if we took that and lost 2-1, the nation would have been fine, because then we all would just been blaming that red card versus your president stepping in and having FIFA corruption step into the men's national game. So that's where I'm standing. Like, I was upset about the red card. Same with you, Callan.
Oh, yeah.
But if we look at the changing of the game, it's a large rule that now is going to be impacting future World Cups, because everyone's going to refer back to this moment in history. So I think we opened up a dangerous can of worms for sure.
I cannot agree more, T. Will. I think for the simple fact, too, that after that happens, the French Football Federation files an appeal about their yellow card. The UK Parliament and the Minister of Sport for England, or for the UK, files a complaint about the red card given out to England in Mexico on Sunday. That, of course, both were upheld, though, which I think, though, is not the right precedent, because, okay, you do it for one team, like Team USA. Why is it not fair for the other two teams who had cards pop up like this to, of course, be rescinded or revoked as well? But with that, though, folks, we'll recap what we can, though, from the end of the round of 16 from this past weekend. Again, we talked about Team USA losing to Belgium 4-1. Trevor, other games, just kind of hopscotching around real quick that stuck out, though. Trevor, I got to say, though, man, Brazil flaming out again last Sunday at the hands of Norway 2-1 about, just Trevor, I don't know what the deal is, man, but Brazil has just not been the same team. I think that we even said, though, at the beginning of the tournament, Brazil has seemed to kind of begin to nosedive a bit, though, and that was not their best game either. But, Trevor, I don't really know. I'm really wondering, though, if the shine is kind of beginning to come off Brazil, though, as these last couple of World Cup cycles have gone through.
I agree with you on that, Callan. It's really hard to figure out what this Brazilian national team needs to do. Like, they can win the games that they need to win, but when there's backs up against the wall against an up and coming team, it's like they score and then it's just like they just can't finish the job. It's like, I guess the rest of the world is now caught up to them, and it's just, I really don't know what they need. They have young talent, they have key players, and they got star players to get the job done, but it's just, I feel like they're just not getting the right match for them to make that deep run in the World Cup tournament. I mean, from, like I said, like, looking at Morocco has a fantastic World Cup, even though they had a, struggle with France at the tail end of that thing. But hey, they're a team, I would say, next World Cup, I could see them being right back in the quarterfinals, possible semifinals if the bracket works in their favor, and being a true flat-out menace in this World Cup. I like their play style. It's fun to watch when Morocco plays. Now, when we see Brazil, it's just like you have the history, the ghosts of Pele in the past and all that stuff. And now it's like your national team is not getting there. Like, you have legends, and now you don't have your next legend to replace it. I know Neymar was supposed to be that, but now his career is over. And now who's going to step up next? I know there's another star I've seen who could fill in the gap, but I just can't quite remember his name at the moment.
Trevor, why do I think, though, that like the Brazilian mystique, as you said, though, like the ghost of Pele, that all that came crashing down when they hosted in 14, I think, and Germany beat the daylights out of them on their home soil 7-1. That was kind of it feels like, to me at least, that match result was the beginning of the end for a Brazilian men's national team, because you getting embarrassed like that. I mean, we could talk about, Team USA losing, for example, on Monday, but losing 7-1, though, at home, when you have so many expectations like Brazil to be top 3, top 5 in the world, bad luck, man. Really bad luck.
Yeah, it's a very bad look on that front. But I feel like that probably hurt the national pride, losing 7-1 in Germany. I think, like, if it was a different outcome, I feel like maybe this Brazilian team might be completely different. But we haven't seen that Brazilian team that strike fears into everyone, like saying, oh, we got Brazil next. And it's like, I know we're not going to get those 3 points or draw them. So we're just going to really fight, for 2 points in the group stage, try to win 2 matches and call it a day, because we're not getting past Brazil. But now there's a lot of teams thinking, like, we could probably hang with Brazil, and it's not too far out of reach. We just got to play our best game, don't do any bad fouls or get any cards, and we can probably walk out with a possible win, or if not a draw. And if you got a draw against Brazil and your team to a lesser caliber, to you, that's 100% of a win in my eyes.
Trevor, from all things Brazil, England finally did it. And I say that somebody finally went to Estadio Azteca and beat El Tri on their home soil in a chaotic game last Sunday, 3-2. The Three Lions beat El Tri at Estadio Azteca in a game marred, though, by the red card, a couple of goals from Harry Kane. Mexico playing behind the 8 ball all evening and could not find a way with 10 men playing up a man to tie this matchup, Trevor. I mean, I was stunned with this game because I was actually at a baseball game that night, but of course the whole ballpark was watching the game on their phone. So whenever England scored, you heard like a collective groan. And then when Mexico scored, like a collective high. Then when they got the red card, a collective high again. And then when the game went finally, a collective groan again. But Trevor, talk about a stunning match, though, last Sunday where, again, England of all but teams. And I think, Trevor, we made the joke, though, if they lose the game, they'll lose because it's the eye of God of 40 years later. Not the hand of God from 86, but the eye of God, because it would have been VAR'd. But, Trevor, they got it done, though, somehow, some way, despite the red card. And England beats Mexico. Did not see that coming.
It was a thrilling fashion, but England being down 10 men in that moment, we saw Mexico making an impressive surge to try to equalize in that game. It was like, if they tied it and then we go into like extra time into that, there's a chance that Mexico walks out with a victory.
I think so.
In that extra time, and they don't go to penalties. If they go to penalties, we have an interesting scenario, and we probably know all England fans would be sweating at the moment of penalties in Mexico. I think we all know how that script would have fallen out, but England holds on, and now they got Norway in a thrilling matchup with Holland versus Kane. It's written in the storybooks for a possible, it should have been a possible quarterfinal. Well, what is a quarterfinal? A semifinal, but we have it at the quarters. I think it's a great way to kick off today's games. And obviously you have Argentina and Switzerland at the back end, where it's more just a moment for Lionel Messi, see if he can win the Golden Boot, how many goals he can get against the Swiss team. But going back to England, I think they have a chance to get to the semifinals, but we're in for a game that's going to go a little back and forth. I think Holland can probably get a goal, maybe 2, to probably equalize it. But Harry Kane has to find a way to make sure England does not trail, because I know that Norwegian team will find a way to lock England up and keep that 2-0 very high, because we saw them do it against Brazil, and now they can do it against England. But England can lurk for the longest time. We saw it in the Congo. They were struggling, and they found a way to come back to win. So we really got a great matchup at 5 p.m. Eastern time, 2 p.m. Pacific time today. So, like, just be glued to your seats, find your English pub, and make sure you get a nice English ale down your system because you're definitely going to need it today.
Oh, man. This game is going to feed families coming up in about a few hours here. With that, though, Trev, how about the other controversial game from last Tuesday, or this past Tuesday? Argentina, Egypt played an instant classic, Trevor, though, but of course it was marred, though, by the 2-0 lead for Egypt. That man, Lionel Messi, does it again. They tie the game. Egypt perhaps takes the lead, but upon review, it was not ruled a goal. And then, of course, Argentina wins the match, though, and then Egypt's head coach blows a gasket with the post-game commentary. Still is, he still has been seething the last 3 to 4 days. But I mean, Trevor, I was really like wondering, when I saw that Egypt was up 2-0, I'm like, this can't happen, right? Like, regarding the fact that Egypt's up 2-0, and then, wait a second, Argentina's got some guy named Lionel Messi. This game's not over yet. And then bada bing, bada boom, they tie it up. Egypt probably should have taken the lead, though, if it wasn't for VAR. And then you also have Argentina win the match, though. But I mean, Trevor, Egypt, I don't know if a lot of people had them getting as far as they did, but hats off to them. But sadly, Lionel Messi strikes again.
I really don't know what this point is with Lionel Messi in this World Cup. Like, he already won his World Cup. He got his storybook ending. Like, this feels like the true storybook ending where he's just beating everybody, doing every possible achievement. It felt like I really just don't know what this Argentina is really doing for Messi at this point. Like, I can't wrap my head around it. Egypt should have won that match, and they blow a 2-0 lead. And the crazy thing, which doesn't help, it was played in Atlanta. So now Atlanta's just forever cursed for blowing big leads at this point. So
I forgot to make that mention.
I just can't wrap my head around it. It's like, you just don't want to play in Atlanta at this point. If you're up with a big lead, you're going to be sweating until the clock hits 0, or at this point, 90 plus. And Mo Salah going through it. I mean, like, you thought Egypt being up 2-0 against Argentina, it's like, all right, there's a chance that they could win it. Messi might get a goal in there, but maybe Argentina can't get their second goal, and that's how they end the match. And then you have the whole review. VAR comes in, steals Egypt's goal. So much tension with the referees. The Egyptian manager throwing up the X to try to stop the match because he thought it was on. It just progressively got worse, and the ref ignored this hand signal, which what you need to do when that hand signal goes up, the match has to stop until it's addressed. That didn't happen. So now it's so controversial on what this looks like. And with how FIFA has been handling this World Cup, are we going to see nations break away from the World Cup to create their own cup to rival the World Cup? And now we're going to have 2 possible quote unquote World Cup. And that will be very chaotic, because then at that point, the nations that get left out are going to probably join the second World Cup. And now it's just going to be which makes the most sense to support.
And Nick Morgeson, you're so right, though. Isn't the point, though, fellas, of VAR to help games run smoothly? Why are they having so many issues with the technology? Trevor, I wonder, though, to Nick's point, if there's been some kind of disconnect between what VAR is telling the referee and then what the referee ends up calling. Again, we should have seen this already, though, involving the Messi play or the Ronaldo play before the tournament, the Flo Balogun play. Then, of course, this play involving the very weird camera angle of the VAR of this Egypt goal getting wiped off the board from 100 yards on the other side of the field, though, Trevor. These issues, I mean, they might be minor issues, Trevor, but now we're talking about costing nations games, costing players a chance at a World Cup championship, and a lot of other factors out there. So the fact that this has come to the limelight, though, Trevor, this late in the tournament, which, by the way, I didn't want to say, but I guess I will now. I was very concerned, Trevor, that eventually something on the field was going to happen where it became some kind of big World Cup international sporting event story. The Balogun play, the Messi no call, then, of course, the VAR system being kind of out of control, too. So, Trev, your point, or your thoughts, I should say, about Nick's point, though, about, why is VAR having so many issues as we got into to the end of his tournament?
I'm more concerned about the respect of the game at this point, because now
Same.
this is, like you said, changing outcomes of games. I know it's supposed to help, but at the same time, we don't want officials calling a game when it should have just been happening naturally. Like, I understand the purpose of offsides and all that, trying to get it down to the right tee and make sure you call that right. But when it's been used so frequently like this, and cards being added on top of it to change it from a foul to a red, it just gets out of control. And the rules with VAR is like, you kind of have to watch it in like live time. So I don't know what the people are doing in the booth to look at these VAR moments. So like, are they slowing it down and now they're changing their opinions behind it? Are they really saying it's quote unquote full speed, but it's really going only, 75% speed on the recording? So it's one of those things we have to take a look at. And maybe there might need to be a little bit more regulations on when it needs to be used. But at the same time,
I agree
you don't want too many restrictions where that's going to impact on how it should be used correctly. So now we're going to have to be looking at it for future matches, future tournaments, saying, all right, what's needs to be rewritten about this rule, because I think it's going to start progressively getting out of control as we get to other future World Cups.
And Nick, before I get to your next point, though, I think Mark Clattenburg brought up your point, though, with the Balogun red versus Bosnia and Herzegovina, that he said this was the wrong usage of VAR for a play, but should have been a foul and then a yellow. Not as we know that it was a straight red, VAR'd, and it was upheld with the red card. That, if anything, Clattenburg said that it was the wrong usage, because I think what they did was that they kept looping the play over, but it was in real time. They never slowed it. This is nothing like what baseball does with challenges, what the NFL does with their replay system, what hockey does with their system, where they can slow it down, rewind, fast forward, freeze it. It's all kind of done though, like in a real-time reaction, where I think that's where there's been disconnect between what the VAR referee is saying upstairs in the press box than maybe what the on-field referee is called, or what they're seeing perhaps. So I agree, though, that you need to figure this out, though. And also Nick writes, fellas, it's simple, though. If VAR was used properly, there would not have been a PR nightmare for FIFA and countries throwing their arms up in disgust, a la, again, Egypt doing so after they lost that game to Argentina. So yeah, I could not agree more with where things do stand. Trevor, getting back to some more of the to round out the round of 16, Switzerland and Colombia. The Swiss get through. Colombia falls short of the quarterfinals. They win in a PK shootout 4-3. Trevor, anytime I've watched a PK shootout, it has seemed to look like one team just does not know what the hell they're doing when it comes to doing PKs. Your thoughts?
It's one of those things. Either your team has that confidence going into PKs, or your team just flat out doesn't. Like, we've seen it multiple times, but when you get a good PK shootout, it just lines up perfectly, and you lose that in that kind of fashion. It's just one of those things you just can't wrap your head around. Like, look about in the early rounds of the knockout when Germany blew their penalty kicks. It's just one of those things where it's like you have a team that has the confidence and they'll just take care of business, where it's like, we've been practicing penalty kicks all season long, and this is like, second nature. We get our steps, but I understand the pressure of an entire nation is riding on your shoulders, because if you don't make that kick, like, your career back home is basically over in some people's eyes. People want to burn your jersey, and you want to never be part of that country ever again. Or if the goalie saves it, you're forever created as a golden statue. You're praised, and everyone adores you and loves you. It's just whatever. But then when you make the kick, it's like, all right, the monkey's off your back. So it's a lot of emotion and reactions, the setup, the prep, the mind games behind each kick. And the goalie just has to guess right. It's like, if they guess right and they put their finger on it and it pushes it out, it's the best save of the World Cup. And everyone's like glued to their seat. And now, like, you're the opposing team's like, can we drill in the back of the net? And then you come up and then you kick it over the crossbar, and it goes to the moon. And we get all of our moon memes off of it. So with that, I know we're probably going to have a possible penalty shootout with Norway and England. So we'll see England start to sweat in that instance. But I mean, the Swiss pulling out that penalty shootout, I don't know if I was ever going to see that on my bingo card, honestly, based on how Colombia is normally as a soccer country.
Or that, or you get the video of all the people who were hate watching the Champions League final with Arsenal and PSG, and the video of all the fans chanting "Over Diba, Over Diba, Over Diba." So yeah, I mean it was insane. With that though, Trev, we have some small news here real quick that Nick Morrison has just passed along. So Nick or Trevor, a couple of things have happened here that Nick Morrison has sent into the ETP Slack channel. We first, folks, can tell you this much here from Jonathan Tandenwall that there is some spattering of talk, Trevor, that legendary American soccer announcer J.P. Dellacamera, who I happened to work with at one point in the Major Arena Soccer League, per the Philadelphia Inquirer, has announced his intentions to step further away from the World Cup after calling his 11th World Cup of his career. In part, Jonathan writes that though Dellacamera is not retiring yet, he did tell the Inquirer that he is choosing to step back from the biggest stage after a tournament on home soil early this morning. You know, Trevor, you think of people, though, in soccer, and you think of, Ian Dark, for example, or Andres Cantor. But the one that I think helped put soccer on the map in this country was J.P. Dellacamera. And I will say, though, if he does step away, though, he will be sorely missed from the World Cup for both men's and women's soccer.
I think that's a great way to end your career on a World Cup on home soil. Like you said, he's been doing for the last 11, World Cups. I mean, you factor that in. Each World Cup is like 4 years, so maybe 44 years, give or take, depending on how we want to shake that down with multiplication of years of trying to be there for it. But at the same time, you put up a great career. And at that point, everyone knows that a Cinderella write-off is best to do on home soil to really cap out a fantastic career.
All right, Trev. 2 more games today, folks, in the quarterfinals. We'll kick things off today at 2 o'clock Pacific time, 5 o'clock Eastern. Norway will face England from Miami Gardens, Florida. Trevor, right now, the win probability is all in favor of the 3 Lions by a 50% margin to 25% for Norway. Of course, though, Trev, 2 teams trying to get back to the World Cup final for the first time ever, for the first time in a long, long time for both sides. Trevor, how does this match play out between Erling Haaland and Harry Kane for England?
This match, we are here to watch probably one of the top matches of the World Cup to date thus far. I mean, the best final match would be France versus England. It's basically PSG versus Arsenal 2.0 on a greater scale for your national team at that point. But I don't think we're going to have to deal with that because it probably is going to be Argentina that's probably going to make it out of the semifinals. But maybe Switzerland has a different script and plan. But England needs to control their destiny. They can't let Haaland run rampant. Him and his slouch running across the field, being a true Viking menace, and as they row across their way to victory. But now Norway has nothing to really lose. Like, for them, this is great. Being to the quarterfinals and possibly reaching the semifinals, like, this is all icing on the cake. So the more damage that they go through this tournament, it's like, this is like a freakish run. Everyone's loving their campaign. Everyone loves the row. It's replacing the skull clap. So now they're just going to row their way to victory. So it's like, what's the next thing that we're going to see? We're going to see the horn next, the victory horn once they win it all. I don't know. This Norwegian team is basically the new quote unquote love of the World Cup. I know we had, the Cape Verde was our, Cinderella run. Everyone was cheering them on to get them through. But now I think Norway has kind of replaced after they knocked off Japan. No, not knocked off Japan, knocked off Brazil, taken over the custody of Hatsumiku. On top of that, now we got a Norwegian one. So life is just getting better for this Norwegian squad. And now they just have to beat England. And I think, like I said, it's going to be a classic. Extra time is going to be played. Goals are going to be coming out of premium. But when they go in, they are going to be electric, and you're going to feel that shake in Miami Stadium 100%.
Roo. I cannot agree more about like that surpassing the Iceland national team's skull chant. That is for sure. But yeah, I mean, I want this game to be like 5-5, if I'm being very honest. I mean, it'd be great if it was. I do think, though, and not even biased, but I think that England has just a little bit more away from Erling Haaland for Norway because, I mean, you got Kane, Jude Bellingham, you've got, other players that are there. I think that they made it that I even think that Pickford might be the better goalkeeper out of the two teams, though, too. So I want to see it come home, laddie. I need to see it come home for England here today.
The English pints are calling. We must guzzle them all.
And then, Trevor, to end the day here at 9 o'clock Eastern, Argentina with a 57% win prob will face the Swiss national team in the quarterfinals. Trevor, I don't think anybody saw the Swiss being here, man, but you know what? You get hot at the right time, though, and what do you earn? A date with Lionel Messi from Kansas City, Missouri tonight. Yikes.
Yeah, not the ideal scenario, what this Swiss team wants to deal with. They have to deal with that sun on that Argentina flag, and I guarantee you what's going to happen after this, I don't know what's really going to boil down for this Switzerland team. They're here for a great historical campaign for this national team. If they find a way to beat Argentina tonight, this will probably be one of the greatest victories for this Switzerland team to date. And if they somehow survive even past that and get to the World Cup finals, I don't know how that nation will wrap their head around their Switzerland team getting to that point. I don't think anyone saw them being here in the quarterfinals. Everyone thought Colombia would be here. Argentina versus Colombia would have been a classic matchup. I don't think anyone would have been upset with whatever outcome that would have been. But Switzerland being here, a little bit of a head scratcher, but they're playing as an underdog. I feel like America is probably going to be cheering for Lionel Messi to get through. But at the same time, there's probably a small population of America that is rooting for Switzerland to be the true underdog here because America loves underdogs. So this is a Daniel and Goliath moment. This is like a true test of heart and determination. So Swiss can ride it out to extra time, force another penalties, and somehow get another victory in penalties. I think they're on something very special, a very historical moment. But if they have to face England or Norway, I think their World Cup journey comes to an end. But hey, they get a third-place matchup, probably against Spain, and that is another tall task to get through. But hey, if they can beat Spain and get third place, I think that's a win in my eyes.
Trevor, to recap the other two games from Thursday and Friday from the World Cup, France over Morocco 2-0. Kylian Mbappe scoring again for France. This man has scored in every game so far for the French national team. But also, I think, though, Trevor, more importantly, you said this, though, back when we previewed the tournament way back at the beginning of last month, that nobody can sleep on Morocco because of how they had their run in 2022. And again, Trev, here is Morocco 4 years later, right back in the thick of it, though, in a quarterfinal match this time around, though, but ultimately ran into a very good, very great, less blue side, though, from France, though. But, I mean, Morocco, bravo for two great World Cup cycles, though, in 22 and 26.
I think what they tied basically France basically 0-0 up till half. To me, it was like, is France going to struggle get past Morocco? And is Morocco getting over that hump where they're controlling their own destiny and the semifinals is not too far out of reach? And them going up against Spain, another great matchup. The countries are right across each other by a small strait that separates them. I mean, that's a great place to be if you got to that point. But, I mean, France has just been a masterclass on how many goals that they're getting this World Cup. Double A, Mbappe have just been going at it. The race for the Golden Boot for France is just driven by egos. It feels like it's just goal after goal after goal. And really, as they go up against the Spain team in the semifinals, are we going to see like a masterclass where it's like 2-2 and we need extra times? It goes 3-3 down to penalties, and it's just the best team wins at that point. It just comes down to like, I feel like that's what that quarterfinal is going to be. It's going to be the most anticipated quarterfinal to date, the most classic one. And it's going to be probably talked about for the next probably 12 years to even 30 years, depending whatever that outcome looks at like.
So again, France over Morocco on Thursday. Then Trevor, I think the only thing that we were wondering on Friday, would anybody score on Spain? Because they were the only team entering the quarterfinal round who had not allowed a goal, though. Spain goes up early 1-0, though. But Belgium does tie the game. But Spain wins the match, though, 2-1 with a goal in the 89th minute to get past the Belgian Waffles on Friday from LA Stadium. Trevor, even if Team USA gets through to this game, I still think that they probably would have gotten beat by Spain. But either way, though, Trevor, this game was an instant classic because I think you're mainly watching, can Spain pitch a full shutout again for another 90 minutes, though it didn't happen, though. But more importantly, they get the winner, though, when it counts the most in minute 89.
I think for how the Spain team is, the last time that I think they conceded a goal in like a World Cup scenario was back, I think, in 2018. So it's just an impressive feat on how this Spain squad has just been a solid defensive team altogether. And now they have young talent that's striking in the back of the net. It's really a complete Spain team from what we've seen thus far. And I really do like their odds going up against France, but it's just one of those things. Like knocking off Belgium was a true class. They were dealing with Romelu, making sure his team for that Belgian Waffles to really get him to that World Cup final, because that Belgian team has just been a team that is solid in every World Cup that it's been a part of. And it's sad to see that them being eliminated, but at the same time, it's against a young Spanish team that's just been shocking the world, being dominant across the board. It's basically a younger French team, if you want to say on pure raw talent, but there's not much gap differential between those two teams at this point by like age. But we're on a very, very classic, I want to just say classic across the board for this Spanish team. Like we said, I like them trying to win this whole tournament based on how they've been playing. They were the favorites to win it. They struggled a little bit in the group stage because they I think, their opening match against Cape Verde. No one saw that coming. And it just started to ramp up. I think they woke up and they started getting moving, getting their boots on.
So with that in mind, folks, here's where the last part of the schedule lies. France will play Spain in the first semifinal game Tuesday afternoon, noon Pacific time, 3 o'clock Eastern. The winners of today's matches involving Norway, England, Argentina, Switzerland will play in the semifinals on Wednesday, also at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 o'clock Pacific time. The third place match will take place on Saturday, July 18th at 2 p.m. Pacific time. And then, of course, the final will be on Sunday at high noon Pacific time, 3 o'clock Eastern from New York, New Jersey Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. So with that, folks, that does bring us to a very interesting, or a very much interesting point for us. Due to the fact right now that we're only here for the World Cup, we are trying our best to keep this program going beyond the World Cup to begin covering MLS, NWSL, the EPL when they resume play in August. It all depends on Trevor's schedule and my schedule as time goes on, though. But Trevor, you know what? I've had a blast doing this show. I mean, obviously, I don't get up very early in the morning out here on the West Coast to do programming. I do, though, get up to watch some of the EPL games on NBC or USA or on Fox or CBS whenever that the season rolls around, though. I have to find a new club, by the way, because Leicester City keeps getting relegated every damn year that I keep watching them play footy over there. But I will say, Trev, it's been very fun. I'd like to thank Nick Morgeson for the chance to bring the World Cup coverage and bring some soccer coverage here. But we do, the folks, intend on keeping this program alive to cover all things soccer. As we get out of the tournament, we'll probably take a brief hiatus and come back once MLS resumes operation later this month to kind of do a bit of an MLS roundup. We'll round up the NWSL. We'll round up all things EPL when they begin play. But I don't know, Trev. Maybe to fill some time before we get off the air for the day, though. You know, this has been so great, though, that we've been able to bring this coverage to the fan bases out there. Again, we've had a lot of great responses from people who've tuned in. The numbers have been very great, though, too. But, you know, soccer, as I said on Wednesday, does have a seat at the table, though, for the American sports ecosystem. You know, not just every 4 years, as I already said, though, but I mean like every single day. Whereas I made that plea on Wednesday, you know, we've made pleas on here for people to go support the small businesses and the bars that have been having their doors open the entire tournament, you know, like here in San Diego or in Columbus or wherever you live, that they have really, I think, hopefully benefited from the people who've gone to the bars to watch games or what have you, that they are getting the money, not B-dubs or not, you know, Pizza Hut or whatever, that you go to a place that, you know, is local, you know, family owned or a local business, though, that we do intend, folks, of keeping the show going. when time allows us to do so, again, to talk MLS, talk EPL, talk all international soccer. But, Trev, how fun has this been, though, in a way for you, though, to fill time in between the end of the college basketball and football season to, talk some soccer here on ETV?
It's definitely like changing up a cycle because I know I was like in an off season. I'm like, what do I do in an off season? Like, I gotta stretch my legs, gotta stay somewhat in podcasting shape. I don't know what that's like, just trying to talk to yourself in a mirror for an hour is the only way to really truly pull that off. But at Callan, it's been a fantastic, campaign that we've had. We try to do it in the past with other shows and try to do like, I would say like a watch party for it. And then
right.
That went away, and that was just devastating for us because I know we were going to get some really good content after that. But now we're back. I think the World Cup really shows how dedicated people are to the game, to the world's game. And I think we have to keep bringing it back. I think there's going to be a schedule that works for us, and we're just going to have to just keep throwing it on the calendar. What day works? Great. Let's do a show. Just knock it out. Quick hour or so, get everyone caught up in the week, or depending what our schedule looks like, to really sit down and capitalize on it. But I think, like we said, this show really, I would say, supports the local community. That's the really best way to support it. I think we really advocate for that and advertise it. So it's just like, make sure you continue to go and support the local businesses post World Cup. And maybe now that you've explored all these different locations and different bars, maybe now you can find a spot to watch your local soccer matches for your MLS team, Premier League team, or other teams that you supportive in the whole soccer ecosystem. So I think you guys need to go down those rabbit holes. Just go out and explore those local places. Even if it's like a one-time experience, I think it's definitely worth it because that helps that local business out. It gets you to experience new cultures and new atmospheres that you never typically go to. But I always know that you also support your regular spots that you like to go to. So if you're a regular spot, don't stop going there because, it changes the atmosphere. But every once in a while, check out a new place so you can get an experience and so that you can share that with your local friends that come through every once in a while to visit you. So really go out and continue supporting that. But like I said, Callan, it's been a fantastic show. I loved every minute of it. It's just been a pleasure from all the commentary and banter that we have thus far in this World Cup.
And Nick Morganson is so right, though, folks. We have World Cup coverage for the women in 2027. So that's coming down the pipeline. But yeah, I mean, we will all again sit together and map this out, though, again, with MLS resuming play at the end of July. The NWSL's in full swing, too. Tonight, San Diego Wave plays Angel City FC in their big SoCal rivalry match at 5:45 local time on ION tonight. Like, there's so many other rabbit holes, and that's kind of, again, not rehash this take again from Wednesday. But like I said, though, folks, this is how we grow this sport in America, is that once this tournament ends next Sunday, and by the way, made a small error. We do plan on being with you for the full weekend next Saturday and Sunday, just depending on time, though, with what Trevor might be doing on Sunday. But we do plan to do a full hour pregame before the final next Sunday. And then even in the evening, if time allows, for a full-fledged recap of the final and the tournament as a whole, though. That right now is on the books right now as tentative right now because of, again, my schedule and Trevor's schedule. Again, I might be traveling out of town for at least one day next week for an inline hockey tournament I'm covering, partially for ETV and partially for my own social media clout and accounts. But I will, again, though, folks, say that, thank you for those that have watched. Again, we're not done yet. We got another week to go, though. But I figured that we would at least use the last part of time to, again, reiterate our thoughts, again, about supporting local business, but also to recap my thoughts, still, from Wednesday on Press Row and my thoughts from Cranium on Tuesday and even earlier on Cranium during the tournament. That I hope that those of you that have watched the tournament, whether you're new to the sport, you're a savvy veteran like myself and Trevor, or you're on the fence about the game, and that I hope that if you have enjoyed watching the tournament, that this will inspire you in a way to go support a local college team, JUCO, D1, D2, D3. Go support a minor league franchise in the USL. Go support the National Women's Soccer League. Go support Major League Soccer. As I will say again, this is the only way that we can grow this foreign game of soccer, the proper version of football, here in our backyard, that we go support our local franchises. That means, here in San Diego, of course, Columbus has an NWSL team coming down the pipeline in 2 years. So wherever you live, folks, find a college, find a minor league franchise, an indoor franchise, a pro franchise, whether that's the NWSL or MLS or USL. Go and give them some love, because they really do deserve your time and effort and your money to, again, just, watch the game and try to, not use the crutch excuse like I've already heard a couple times on this network about, okay, Team USA is out. Okay, but tournament's over. I'm going to go back to watching other sports. I'll see you in 4 years. That does not end when the tournament ends next Sunday. And I'll keep saying that until this tournament is over with, that we're not done yet, and that there is still a lot of work to be done to make this game, accessible, and that we all have to get behind this product. Again, I have been doing that, though, folks, for my whole life here in Southern California, here in San Diego, with my time working in college soccer, with the pros here locally, with the indoor soccer franchise where I have my 3 championship rings, and with supporting SDFC, supporting the Wave, trying to find a new club over in the EPL, because, again, Leicester keeps getting bumped down because they keep getting relegated because they suck every year. And, of course, Trevor's been supporting the Crew for so long, too, in Columbus. So I'll leave it at that right now. I won't go too farther in the weeds, though, but you know where I stand, though, folks. And we are back with you next Saturday. For Trevor Williams, I'm Callan McClurg, and for our producer and engineer, Nick Morgeson. We'll catch you again, folks, next Saturday as we get ready to wrap up the tournament here in a week's time. But until then, folks, have a great day and enjoy the remainder of the quarterfinal stage of the World Cup. Until next time, have a great day. Bye-bye.